You reached for your phone this morning, before your eyes were fully open, before a single conscious thought had formed. And in that moment, without choosing it, you handed the first minutes of your day to everyone else. Every notification, every message, every piece of someone else's agenda flowing directly into your undefended half-awake mind. And from that moment, you were reacting, not deciding, not directing, reacting. By noon you wondered where the morning went. By evening you wondered where the day went. And somewhere underneath all of it, a quiet recognition that you didn't really live today. You survived it. It doesn't have to work that way. Seneca, one of the most powerful men in Rome, advisor to emperors facing the certainty of his own execution, wrote something that has outlasted every empire he served. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it. Not a philosophical observation, a diagnosis, and a door, 7 habits, built from Seneca's specific daily practices. Habit number 1, control your first thought. You reached for your phone this morning, and before you'd made a single choice, your emotional state was already being decided by whoever sent the last message. That's not a small thing. That's the entire foundation of the day handed to chance. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius about the power of the first moments of consciousness. Retire into yourself as much as possible. Associate with those who are likely to improve you. He wasn't talking about isolation. He was talking about protection. The first minutes of your day belong to you, if you choose to claim them. Here's what that looks like in practice. Tomorrow morning, before the phone, sit on the edge of your bed, eyes open or closed. 3 slow breaths. Not meditation, not a routine. 1 question. What kind of person do I intend to be today? Not what you need to do, who you intend to be. Patient, focused, deliberate, present. 1 word. Said before the world says anything to you. Because here is what changes when you do this. You arrive at every moment of the day already knowing who you are. And a person who knows who they are before the pressure arrives doesn't lose themselves when it does. Your first thought sets your identity for the day. But identity without gratitude is a mind that moves through the day without ever noticing what it has. Habit number 2 fixes that, and not in the way you expect. Habit number 2. Practice Stoic gratitude. Most people think gratitude means focusing on the positive, writing 3 things they're thankful for, smiling at the morning. Seneca practiced something more powerful and more uncomfortable. He wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing, not to create fear, to create presence." Seneca understood that the things you take for granted only become visible when you imagine losing them. The relationship that feels permanent isn't. The health you ignore, temporary. The ordinary Tuesday morning, irreplaceable. You don't notice the coffee until it's gone cold. You don't notice the quiet until it ends. You don't notice the people you love until something threatens the fact that they're there. Stoic gratitude is not counting blessings. It is the deliberate imagination of their absence for 60 seconds, so that when you open your eyes, everything that is still there is suddenly, briefly, undeniably precious. The practice. Before you leave your bedroom tomorrow, choose one thing you value, a person, your health, your freedom. Imagine it gone, 60 seconds. Then open your eyes. It is still there. That feeling, brief, quiet, real, is the most honest form of gratitude available, and it takes less than a minute. Stoic gratitude prepares you for what you have. The next habit prepares you for what's coming, and most people skip it entirely, which is exactly why they're blindsided every single day. Habit number 3. Prepare for difficulty. Something is going to go wrong today, not as a possibility, as a certainty. A conversation that doesn't go the way you planned. A task that takes 3 times longer than it should. A person who says something that lands wrong. Most people meet these moments unprepared, and unprepared means one thing: reactive. Seneca called the practice of mental preparation premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, not pessimism, the most rational thing a person can do before facing a day they cannot control. He wrote, "Nothing happens to the wise man against his expectation, not because the wise man predicts everything, because he has already decided how he will respond before the thing arrives." Here's the practice. 5 minutes. Before you leave the house, name the one thing most likely to challenge you today. The difficult conversation, the project that might go wrong, the person who might provoke you. Feel the discomfort of it, briefly. Then choose your response in advance. If this happens, I will respond with calm. If this happens, I will pause before reacting. If this happens, I will focus on what is in my control. You've already been there. When it arrives, you're not blindsided. You're ready. Preparation handles what you can anticipate. But there's a deeper practice, one that determines how much energy you waste on everything you can't control. This is habit number 4, and this is the one most people never apply. Habit number 4. Focus only on what is yours. You are starting your day already carrying things that were never yours to carry. What your colleague thinks of your work, whether the email you sent came across the right way, how the meeting will go, what your manager is in the mood for. None of that is yours. And yet, most people spend the first hour of their day inside all of it. Seneca identified this as the primary source of daily suffering, not the events themselves, the energy wasted on events that were never within reach. He wrote, "Omnia aliena sunt, tempus tantum nostrum est." Everything is alien to us. Time alone is ours. And most people spend the resource that is only theirs on things that belong to everyone else. Here's the practice that changes that. Every morning, write down what is causing you stress. 3 items, no more. Then, for each one question. Is this within my control? If yes, what is the first action I can take? If no, release it, not reluctantly, entirely. Cross off what you cannot control. What remains is your actual day, not the day everyone else's agenda is trying to create. The day that is genuinely, completely, irreducibly yours. The energy you reclaim from this practice is not small. It is the difference between arriving at noon exhausted and arriving at noon still in possession of yourself. Knowing what's yours is half the battle. The second half is knowing where you're going with it. Habit number 5 is how you set that direction, before the noise of the day makes it impossible to hear. Habit number 5. Set your intention. Most people begin their days with a to-do list, a collection of tasks, things to get through, items to check off, and by the end of the day, many of them are checked, and none of the important ones are done, because a to-do list tells you what to do. An intention tells you why you're doing it, and without the why, the what gets filled by whoever shouts loudest. Seneca wrote to Lucilius about the cost of a life lived without direction. If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. You can be busy all day, you can tick every box, and still arrive at the evening exactly where you started, because you were moving without direction. The practice. 1 sentence, written or spoken aloud. Before you look at your list. Today I will, not what you will do, what you will be. Today I will respond rather than react. Today I will protect what actually matters. Today I will finish what I started. 1 sentence. Said before the world says anything. Because the person who knows where they're going before the day starts doesn't get lost when the day tries to redirect them. Intention gives you direction, but direction without the discipline to hold it is just a wish. Habit number 6 is where the discipline gets built. Habit number 6, build discipline before breakfast. Discipline is not a personality trait. It is not something you have or don't have. It is a muscle, and like every muscle, it grows through resistance and weakens through avoidance. Seneca wrote about the practice of voluntary discomfort with a precision that productivity culture has never improved on. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Every morning you avoid the uncomfortable thing. You make it slightly harder next time. Every morning you face it. You make it slightly easier. The compounding works in both directions, and it begins in the first minutes after you wake up. Here's what this looks like in practice. You don't feel like moving this morning. Your body wants to stay horizontal. Your mind is already negotiating with the snooze button. Do 10 push-ups, or a 2-minute cold shower, or the hardest task on your list before you check your messages. Not because these things are transformative in isolation, because doing the uncomfortable thing first, before the day has given you any reason to feel strong, tells your mind something it cannot learn any other way. I can do hard things before I feel ready. And a mind with that evidence handles the difficult meeting differently, handles the hard conversation differently, handles every uncomfortable moment of the day from a different starting point, one act of discomfort, every morning, before anything else. That's the gym. And discipline is what gets built there. Discipline creates the capacity to act. But the final habit is about something different. It's about what you do when everything you've planned meets the day that actually arrives. Habit 7. Accept what is you planned the morning. You set the intention. You prepared for difficulty. And then something happened that you didn't plan for. The call that ran over. The message that changed everything. The moment where the day you intended became the day that actually arrived. And in that moment, most people do something that costs them everything that follows. They argue with it, not out loud, internally, replaying how it should have gone, wishing it were different, holding the gap between what was planned and what happened, as though holding it long enough will close it. It won't. Seneca wrote, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life." Not surrender, the most rational possible response to reality, because every second spent arguing with what has already happened is a second not spent on what still can. The practice. When something disrupts your morning, one breath, one sentence. This is what is happening. What is in my control from here? Not what should have happened, not what you wish were true. What is true, right now, and what can you do with it? That question redirects energy from the past that cannot be changed to the present that still can be shaped. And that redirection, made in the morning before everything else, is what makes the rest of the day possible. The complete morning. 7 habits. 15 minutes. Your first thought, claim it before the phone does. Stoic gratitude. Imagine what you'd lose to appreciate what you have. Prepare for difficulty. Name the challenge before it arrives. Focus on what's yours. Release everything else entirely. Set your intention. One sentence before the noise starts. Build discipline early. One hard thing before you feel ready. Accept what is. Redirect from what happened to what still can. Seneca spent decades building these practices, not in comfortable circumstances, but in the corridors of power, under the threat of execution, in the middle of a life that was genuinely difficult. If they worked for him under those conditions, they work for you, starting tomorrow morning. Which of these 7 habits did you most need to hear today? Drop the number in the comments. 7 habits, 15 minutes. The morning is yours.